Are we live? It says we are, but we really aren't. Here we go. All right, you guys, I think we are live streaming on Workplace and eXp Family Tree. Hi, you guys. Welcome back with our mindset and market update call with Angie and Nikki. I'm gonna let you guys take it away. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. What you got for us, Nikki?
All right, so there's a lot going on with mortgage interest rates this week. So try to, follow along, ask any questions, things like that. I'm going to try to explain what's happening in the bond market and what's happening this week and how it will affect mortgage interest rates. There's a lot of information. So if you do have some clarifying questions or need some clarifying information, feel free to ask me in the chat or feel free to give me a call or an email. I can kind of go through it and help make it a little bit more relevant to your clients. So we have a huge bond auction this week. What this means that up for sale are going to be 2-year, 5-year, and 7-year bonds. Okay. When this happens, they'll go out into the market and hopefully investors and things like that will absorb these bonds. Now, why this is important this week as opposed to other months that we've seen is the amount of bonds that are going to be into the market this week. Okay. So on the 2-year, for example, there's going to be $69 billion of bonds going out available on the 2-year. On the 5-year, it's actually going to be 70 billion. Now, this is a record high amount for the 5-year bonds to be released to the market and hoping that they absorb them. And then the 7-year is going to be 44 billion. Why this is important is because there's so much of this going out into the market. If it gets absorbed, that's great news for the bond market and great news for mortgage interest rates. If it's not absorbed into the market, not so great news for mortgage interest rates. Now, they're really hopeful. All the predictions are really hopeful that these bonds will get absorbed because they are above the 4.5 mark as far as the payout on them. So right now we have anywhere from 4.67 to 4.98 on the yield. So we're really hopeful that those will get absorbed. What that means is that, again, great for the bond market, great for mortgage interest rates, because then we'll see a little bit of a push down on that. The other thing that's happening this week that's really important is the consumer or the personal consumption expenditure number is going to come out. This is the Fed's favorite number when it comes to inflation. It's what they base their inflation numbers on and why we're seeing a little bit of a stagflation or what they're calling a stagflation. So when they release this number, it is a year-over-year number that gets compiled. So in other words, February to February, March to March, April to April. So what the last number that was on is 2.8 or 2.784. The Fed rounds this 2.8. We'll just call that the PCE number. Okay. What is important is last March in 2023, when the March numbers are going to be coming out this week, last year in 2023, that March number was 0.336. Okay, that falls off. And then we get our new March number, which is supposed to be 0.3. So in other words, very, very, very even, which will predictably make the core number about 2.748 versus 2.784. Now you'll notice the Fed rounds that number. So 2.8 last month, 2.7 this month. So it's a little bit misleading, even though the actual difference isn't going to be a lot. They go by rounding, so they're going to round down that number versus round it up, which means that there's going to be a little bit of improvement on the inflation. However, not so much so to the point where it will be positive for mortgage loan interest rates. Okay, so the Fed has gone on record again and saying they're going to be patient. They're going to be slow in changing anything. They really want that inflation number to come down. So a lot of things happening this week as far as hoping that we get some good results from the bond auction so that we can at least stay where we're at versus having to go up again in mortgage interest rates. So like I said, a lot of information, a lot of things happening this week. We're going to be playing a wait and see game to see what's happening with the interest rates. You'll be watching my TikTok and my Facebook and my Instagram to find out any updates that happen throughout the week as these numbers come in. So I'll be doing some postings and things like that so you can follow that along. So, important to say to your, potential buyers and sellers, like, let's get in, let's get this done before we see some increase in mortgage interest rates or predictable increases that might happen over the next couple months. So that's kind of the important thing when it comes down to it. So that's what's happening in the market on the street. So I did a video about this last week. Fannie Mae just released a new grant program that is focused on individuals living in certain geographical areas currently. And if they are first-time home buyers living in certain geographical areas, they can get $5,000 in a forgivable grant towards the purchase of their first home. They can move anywhere. They aren't restricted on where they can move. They just have to be currently residing in one of these geographical areas, okay? With that $5,000 grant, we are actually matching that grant up to an additional $4,000. So a total of $9,000 to go towards down payment and closing costs. That is all forgivable. Now, interestingly enough, this $5,000 grant has no income limit, which normally when you think of grant funds and you talk about down payment assistance, there are normally income limits associated with it. This has zero income limits associated with it. So if you are in this geographical area and you are a first-time home buyer, you automatically qualify for the $5,000 plus another $4,000 from us, depending on purchase price. So it's really interesting. Like, for example, a $300,000 home, that's 3% down payment right there. So now all you have to worry about is closing costs. And if you potentially could get the seller to pay your closing costs, guess what? You could get into a home using grant funds only and nothing out of your own pocket. So it's a really great program that Fannie has released. I will show you guys a quick snippet of where they have the geographical regions right now. It's not to say that won't be added later or things like that, but this is where we're at right now. So relevant right now, obviously Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler, Arizona. There's some in Texas, Illinois, Wisconsin. You can kind of see there's nothing in Minnesota as of yet. However, there are a lot of areas where you can check the actual specific address of where somebody is living, and you can see, okay, this is where they're going to be able to purchase a home, or they're going to be able to qualify for that grant. So the only thing that we need to check, the only thing that we need to know about and we need to have in order to check this is going to be their current address. If we know their current address and they're in that region, we can qualify them on a conventional loan, they have $5,000. So that's really nice. I wanted to also mention, if your clients are not in any of those geographical regions, we still have the $4,000 grant available for clients. It is income-based, but it does go up to 2% of the purchase price, up to $4,000. If they are falling below an additional income category, so in other words, if they fall below 50% of the area median income, we add an extra $2,500. So somewhere $4,000, $6,500, $9,000, depending on where they are and what they can do. My point with this is there's a lot of grant money coming out into the market right now. A lot of people pushing for first-time home buyers to be able to make it more affordable for them to actually get into homes. We can also have programs where we can do a interest rate that's lower for the first 2 years or first 2 or 3 years of home ownership to help first-time home buyers, or any home buyer really, be comfortable with that payment for the first 2 years while we wait for mortgage interest rates to settle down. The big picture and the big message here is to let our buyers know that interest rates, things like that, those are things that we can strategize through in order to get them in a home, and not let that be a deterrent to finding that home, to figuring out what your payments are going to be, to getting pre-approved, to pushing forward on purchasing a home. Because although interest rates are going up, the cost of the home is also going up year over year. So it's important to be able to get into that home and make sure that you're getting there at a good strategy to purchase, while waiting for interest rates to come down in the future.
Lots going on. Absolutely.
Yes.
So when you say we offer the 4,000 and potentially 2,500, is that Loan Depot yours?
Okay. Yeah, it's Loan Depot. Yeah, that is correct.
So that's something that they'd want to, agents watching. I definitely get in contact with Nikki if you want to put your stuff in the chat as well, Nikki, so that we can put it on live stream.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Workplace, just because that's huge, and like you said, that can be the difference.
It can be. Now, in comparison, there's other lenders that are offering these products, but nobody is matching up to the 4,000 like we are. We've seen them matching a couple 2,000 or 3,000, but nobody else is matching up to the 4,000 at this time, which is good news, because an extra $1,000 can mean a lot of money to a lot of homeowners.
Absolutely, especially first-time home buyers, and if they're getting in that forgivable grant with the no income limits, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just love to get your opinion on the strategy behind it. Like if you're in the rooms or you're in the conversations probably more than us agents, why did Fannie Mae release this?
It's in an effort to help first-time homebuyers and get out of certain geographical areas that are considered distressed, to help push people forward from an economic standpoint into homeownership, which we know it's been proven over and over again helps to bring people out of the poverty situation or bring people out of poverty levels when it comes to homeownership. So that's really where the effort is coming in. This $5,000 won't be around forever. Grant money and down payment assistance money tends to float in and out of the market. They haven't put a cap on the amount of, money that they're going to be putting towards this, but for right now it's here. And for right now, we're going to take advantage of it when we can.
Yeah, so it's something to move on because you don't know how long or how long it will be available. Absolutely. I love that. And then to go back to the bond auction. So is that something that it will all be started and done within 1 week and you'll be able to report back next week? Or how long does that whole process take for the 2, 5, and 7 year bonds to be absorbed?
That's a great question. So depending on the absorption rate and depending on how long they're going to allow them to be out there, it's usually about a week.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it will go, we'll know pretty much.
Mhm.
We'll get
Well,
a
no, yeah.
following you again, and I would love for you to put your social media as well out there because you do give fantastic updates throughout the week on TikTok, Facebook, Insta, all of it, because you'll probably you will be following this and seeing what's going on. So as we kind of learn a little bit more, I think what you add and the value you give on these calls and in everyday life on social media is something that all the agents listening and anyone that's an agent should be absolutely plugging into. Yes.
Yeah. Let me just put that stuff in here right now.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So even just looking at, the agents that are listening to this, think of your buyers. I know a lot of agents right now are doing first time home buyer seminars. I know they're pairing with title, they're pairing with mortgage, they're pairing with other people in the industry to get a lot of this information out there. So think about if you have done a first time home buyer seminar, and they can be in person. I've done them on Zoom. I've done them with lenders. I've done them with title. I've done them with inspectors. I mean, you should have a really strong partners already in real estate. You have your go-tos for everything. And if you don't, then definitely look me up because I'll talk you through that because you should have your strong team around you. So take this information that Nikki's sharing and how can you go to market, meaning go on social media or call those people or find somewhere in your community where you can host this. And you don't need months and months to plan it. I mean, you can do something in the next 2 to 3 weeks if you just make the decision today that you're going to do it. The good news is a lot of lenders, a lot of title, they have those conference rooms. They're happy to host with you and even provide the space for no charge. So start thinking outside the box. And as these tools and grants and resources come to light, like jump on it. Use this information to positively spin and not even spin, but positively just put positive information out there in a world where so much of the media right now isn't positive. Like look at it from that perspective, from that perception, and drive it as much as you can for the good that it's there to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that for sure. And I know on the year over year, so you said the expenditure and the inflation rate. I guess we're just waiting to see what happens. And you said, I love how you said, like, I guess to go back to that, you talked about like get it done now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We don't know, and everything that we thought we would know now is not what we thought, and it's being pushed out, because it's kind of almost like my feeling is they're prolonging the inevitable because they don't want to give the news they don't want to give. So when you say that because we do know what we know now. And
Correct.
we have this right here and now in this opportunity. Is that, I'd love to get your thoughts on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, it's one of those things where we talk about, we talked about it last year, we talk about it all the time, where the cost of that house is not going to go down. The actual physical amount that you're paying for that house is only going to go up. And so interest rates are always going to be temporary. Whether you're at 7.5 today or 5.5 2 years from now, yeah, there's some savings to be had there. But the important thing is that that house or the actual cost of it is always going to go up. So it's important that not letting that interest rate deter you from purchasing. Focus on your payment, focus on how we can temporarily relieve that payment by doing a 2-1 buy down or a step up into your mortgage, into your larger mortgage payment. We use that strategy a lot with first time home buyers, especially, but with anyone, which is that, hey, let's do a 2-1 buy down. Let's wait for those interest rates to come back. There's really no downside to it in a lot of ways. If we can find a way to fund it either by the seller paying the 2-1 buy down or the buyer paying the 2-1 buy down, we can even do it on a refinance. So the reality is like, we can really help you get that payment that's ideal for you also while purchasing that house. And that's super important for buyers today. I mean, I can tell you probably out of the last 10 mortgages that I've closed on, I would say probably 7 of them have been those 2-1 buy down product, because that is so important for us to relieve that payment. Why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. And like we talked about last week, focus on the payment and
Mhm.
focus on like, oh, well, what if we could get this grant or that grant, or what if you qualified, and get these buyers or prospects in the conversation with Nikki, because there are opportunities or options. And if you don't have those right now, and if you're not having that conversation right now, that's exactly why you should be joining these calls and talking with Nikki right away, because it is important to understand a lot of what's been happening is, again, these blinders. You don't know what you don't know. And as real
Exactly.
estate agents, that's okay. That's why you have extension of your teams like Nikki, that they can really pour in and understand that lane while you stay in your lane. Yes, you should have knowledge on all the lanes, but you need to be really honed in and good at your lane, and let Nikki be really honed in and good at her lane. So it's just having the conversation. And I think that's so important. And just from a mindset point of view, what has been coming up so much lately is belief. So many and everyone's beliefs are just thoughts that they continue to have over and over and over again. So the belief that maybe now is not the right time, or I can't afford it, or I'm going to wait, all these beliefs and all these things that you're hearing from either maybe yourself as an agent or your buyers or prospects, it's just the same thoughts they're having over and over again. So it's really important that you can be disruptive in a positive way to those thoughts. And that's, again, providing information, providing content, providing value, education. And so you're coming to this calls is definitely the right thing to do, because that's where you pick this up and understand that there are resources out there. There are different things that can disrupt and interrupt that pattern of thinking that so many people don't even know why they think that way. They just do because that's kind of what they're programmed to, or they're watching the things that aren't helpful or aren't correct or valid, and they're letting that dictate their decision. So if someone believes now's not the right time, I challenge you to challenge them in their thinking, because that's really what a belief is. So it's getting down to why they believe that. Because if you do dive in and dig in and ask the right questions, you'll really find out that it's probably and more than likely not even a true statement or a true thought that they're having, or something they heard.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree.
Well, good. Well, it's right about at the 20-minute mark. So Nikki, so appreciate you. I love if you just shout out your phone number so people can call you or text you right away.
Sure, it's 952-484-1584.
Wonderful. For all the agents that tuned in, thank you. All the ones watching the replay, reach out to Nikki, figure out more ways and things that you can do to get your clients taken care of today. So till next
Awesome.
time, make it a good one.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye, everyone.